Hi, I'm Tim Eskew.
And I'm Amanda Stradling. We are East Valley Leader Lab, and this is our podcast, Mind and Body at Work.
Wellness, well-being, and mindfulness are trending right now as organizations try to attract and retain the best talent in this tumultuous post-COVID world. At the Leader Lab, we agree these are important concepts and overdue for being fully utilized in the workplace.
We also believe that these concepts only work when you treat the mind and body as a whole. We are excited to be part of a societal shift in attention toward the whole person. We invite you to join us as we begin to look broadly and deeply at wellness, well-being, and mindfulness in the workplace. Hi, I'm Amanda Stradling, and this is Tim Eskew. We are East Valley Leader Lab, and you are listening to Mind and Body at Work. We have an exciting guest today. My good friend, Jacob Talbert, is here to offer a different perspective on well-being and mindfulness in the workplace. So thank you for being here.
Excited to be here. Been looking forward to it.
Great. All right. They call Jake Talbert the Jedi Master of Systems and Tech, by day as the dynamic managing partner at SixthDivision, where he and his team master the art of extracting phenomenal results from marketing tools for small businesses. By night, Jake transforms into a modern-day armorer, crafting epic cosplay that would make Iron Man proud. When he's not revolutionizing funnels or embodying superhero chic, he's the anchor to his 3 boys and his extremely supportive wife. He's actively involved with his church. He's a certified grief recovery specialist, helping others navigate the waters of loss and healing. And he's currently penning his insights and experiences into a book aptly named The Giver Method. So he's set to guide readers through the nuances of grieving and giving and growing in both personal and professional realms. So we're excited to dive into these conversations. We're sure it will include your unique humor and creativity and your very human approach to leadership and personal development. Tim, you want to get the ball rolling for us today?
Sure. So I'm going to say full disclosure, I had to have Amanda explain to me what cosplay is, so I want to hear a little bit more about that. But let's start with SixthDivision, your company, and just tell us about the mission and the vision, and then we'll go in from there.
So SixthDivision, what we do is we help small businesses, typically businesses that are fast approaching $1 million in revenue, or they're multi-7-figure businesses, and they utilize certain tools for their journey, the client journey they take people through, or for their funnels or whatever it may look like. And those tools, no one ever tells you how to use them. It's kind of like, here's all the things it could do, and then it's like you're left to your own devices. Yeah. So what we do is we help make sense of all the chaos. We map, plan, do strategy and coaching, and then we do technical implementation for those tools. But what's really cool is that we get to work with businesses who are doing almost anything you could possibly imagine and things that you would have never thought people could make money with. We've got a really cool team. We've got multiple coaches, admin, a couple technical people, and then founding partner myself. And so it's a lot of fun being able to see under the hood of so many other businesses and what they're doing, what works well in their business, and also like seeing sometimes the good and the bad of how there are times you see good employers and not so good employers, or
Definitely
How the sausage is made.
Oh yeah,
Small
very
companies.
Much. Yep.
Yeah. And are these tools mostly marketing and sales tools, or what range of tools are we talking about?
Pretty much like, so anyone who knows what a CRM is in email marketing is going to, essentially they go hand in hand. So everything from the marketing, the sales pipeline, when you actually get into client delivery, customer delivery, onboarding and such. And then of course, how they process their payments, how they, all that sort of stuff. So it's a little bit of everything. Once again, most of them are only using about 10% of what the tools can do. And we're like, cool, we should use way more than 10% and make your business way more efficient.
Nice.
Great.
And how does this mission align with your purpose in life, and what brought you to this focus in life?
So for us, the big impact is number one, by doing this, we're helping to organize thinking and organize the way these businesses run. So we know that by doing that, they're going to see improvements. They're going to make more money. They're going to be more efficient. They're going to, scale faster, which already that's one of our goals and our missions. Like, cool, we want them to be able to do that so that they can live the life that they want, because that's what we want to do.
Okay.
What they often don't know when they're signing up to work with us is we're actually going to be not only coaching and implementing and building their systems, but we're going to be coaching and building and implementing them and changing how they show up as a leader. So they don't buy that from us, but when they start working with us, when we start talking through things, we hear them say things. We'll start poking holes in what they're saying. We'll start, because we want to upgrade them as a person. We want to upgrade them as a leader and how they show up. Because for us, not only when a business grows, does it, like business leader does well, the employees do well, their families do well, it helps the community and such. Well, same idea. If that leader shows up differently at their company, it changes their employees, which then changes how those employees show up at home, which changes how those employees' families then go out into the community. And so for us, it's all about that. We call it being a force of nature. And so how do we make that ripple effect that just consistently goes from there? So I have a huge passion for that, just simply because the idea that you will never know the full extent of how much you've changed that business, that person, or someone way down the line, that their life is completely transformed simply because we upgraded someone who's 3-4 steps away from them in life, but it had that big of a ripple effect.
That's fantastic. I like that force of nature. Can you tell me like any examples of anything you've seen, any impact that you've seen, some people that you've seen transform a little bit, and how their businesses are improving, how their lives are improving?
I mean, gosh, there's narrowing down the scope is probably going to be the harder part of it. One of my favorites is a company that some of their employees are based out of Oregon, some are based out of Idaho. And the way they were doing things, it was often, they were jumping around from system to system, and they were just like, it was kind of chaos. They came and worked with us years and years ago. They left, and then they jumped to another system, and then they jumped to do something. Like oftentimes visionaries are quick to pull the trigger on things and not actually pick through all the rules. And so, us sitting down, we started just by being like, cool, well, we're going to use this system. We're going to build in a way that works for you. And then, but as we worked with the owner of the company and his VP, over time, like, all of it has become less erratic or whatever. So the other employees have noticed it. They've actually been like, gosh, Cole trusts you. He trusts, like, whatever you say, he's going to go do. And it's great because now we're not pivoting all the time. We're not, and you could almost hear the relief from the stress that's causing on them just from not knowing what's next, and so that itself, not only has their business over the last few years, they've doubled in revenue, but employees are sticking around longer, and they're happier, and you hear it, you see it in how they engage and how they show up to the calls as well. And so I can only imagine that lack of stress or de-stressing changes how you show up when you go home after work, and changes how, because you're not walking in the door like, gosh, I can't believe they did this again. I can't believe they did that again. And so you see those things. Company I work with out of Sweden, that family-run, son took over from the father, and once again, they, just by organizing and changing how they organize their thinking on business, but then changing, if that's how we do it in business, like he says, I did that in my personal life. I did that and they 10x'd over 2 years just from that. So kudos to them. Company's doing great.
Wow.
But they did it without hiring anybody.
Really?
And so that to me was where it's like, that's the win. Like, everyone's doing better. The company's more successful. And I just, did a call with them yesterday morning, really, really early in the morning because they're in Sweden.
Oh.
And, but having their whole team come onto those calls, and it's like everyone's friends and everyone's,
a lot of cohesion.
Oh yeah. Which
that's so cool.
not necessarily there originally. And so once again, as they change how they show up, as the company's doing better, as people don't have to stress about those little pieces, like it just changes how they show up, and they're excited to come to the call, and they're excited to all contribute.
Yeah. What it reminds me of is, we do embodied leadership. We would like to help people get into the intelligence of their bodies with practices. And, we're talking about leading teams, but more often than not, the biggest outcomes that people have in the first couple of courses are personal, right? They're learning how to lead their life differently. And so you guys make that connection. That's great.
It might sound like a stretch to some of our listeners, but honestly, it's reminding me of my Tai Chi, because Tai Chi is all about economy of motion, right? You don't want that wasted energy. You don't want chaos. Every action is intentional. Everything's balanced and harmonious. And you're just really letting go of a lot of the excess energy and chaos, and everything just becomes more harmonious. And in Tai Chi, we do like 2-person things. You learn to use that same economy with another partner. And it's just all about that like smoothness.
Yep.
And not wasted action anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, that plays out even with, those who work for me. Like we intentionally only go after people who are bought in to the ownership mentality of our company, because when there, we give tons of flexibility for anything and everything you can imagine. We really are a come in, get your stuff done. As long as your stuff's done and your clients are happy. If you want to take 3 weeks off and to do something with your family, do it.
That's really unique in a lot of companies.
We've got, individuals who deal with some pretty big health issues. Our admin had gone through cancer just a couple years back, and there wasn't a question of anything. It was like, cool, what does everyone else have to do to fill in for them?
Wow.
What else has to be true to make sure that she can be at home and focused on what she needs to focus on, and that she's not stressed about the fact that there's something, that company may be thinking something. It was like, nope, everyone stepped up. Everyone filled in the void.
That's amazing.
Even today, I had one of my coaches who has been going through some stuff and found some really cool treatment with pressurized tanks that is helping a lot. And every day this week, it's like, hey, I got to leave at 1:45 because I got to drive out to Scottsdale so I can do it. It's like, cool. Tell me how it goes. Like, you don't even have to tell me that you're leaving, because I trust that if you're leaving, everything's taken care of and your clients are happy. But it gives that flexibility that we don't track PTO. We don't have sick time. It's like, nope, we're going to create an environment where everyone feels comfortable doing whatever they need to do. We provide them full company covered benefits.
Oh, wow.
We give them 401k matching. For a small company, we do things that most small companies don't do, and it's because we don't want them to have to think about that. Think about their retirement. We don't want them to have to think about their health. We don't want them to have to think about, oh no, I have to be there on Friday until 5 o'clock. Most Fridays, I'm usually kicking people out the door at 2. I'm like, go home. Why are you here? Like, unless you've got something specific to be here for, go home and be with your family. Have a long weekend. So to me, that there is an energy that then gets created within the office. There's an energy that gets created amongst all of us, and that you can feel it. You can tell. And to me, outside of when people are having more serious health issues, I feel like, we never have people out sick unless it's something drastic, that's happened. We don't have people out sick. We don't have people who are missing anything.
Because they're not burned out.
They're not burned out, and they're not stressing, and that plays into your overall health and how you're getting better sleep, you're getting better this, and all I can say is like, that's that whole body mentality of like, no, if you're not stressed, if you're able to do more at home, if you're able to, like, you're less likely to get sick. You're less likely to have these other things come on. And so for us, it is totally worth it to let people live the life that they want to live. We believe that there's three currencies in life: time, energy, and money.
Yes.
And there are plenty of times where you're willing to give up more time to save money. There's times where you're willing to spend more money to save time. And so for us, we focus on that with businesses and business owners, but for ourselves as well, we're always having discussions of like, is that the best use of your time or your energy or my, and stressing over little things that a lot of companies stress over is a terrible waste of time and energy, and is costing you money, way more money than it takes to just do those types of things to make it a better environment for people.
So everything you've said in the last 2 minutes has spoken to me about trust. You created a very trustful environment. What do you look for in your team members to show you that they can handle that trust? And
so our hiring process is aptly named the Gauntlet, and it is not a simple process. And so each stage of the hiring process, usually there's about 6 or 7 stages we take them through. Each one we map out saying, what are we wanting to, like, what are we trying to see? How does that align with our vision? How does it align with our values? How, like, are they a company fit? Are they a culture fit? The last thing we actually test is, do you have the technical skill to do the thing?
Really?
That's the least of our concerns. I can teach anybody technical. You just have to show me you have some sort of a technical mentality, but I can teach anyone the tools. I can't teach you to be a leader. If I try, it's going to take a long time. It's not going to be worth my time and money when I can find people who are just natural leaders. And so as we take them through the process, there are things that we're testing at every single step that show us, like, I'm not making a guess if they're going to be a right fit or if I can trust them. They're showing us those things by doing assignments in certain ways, by how they show up. We basically try to talk them out of working for us. Like, the goal is we all play different characters throughout the hiring process, and like the goal is, like, I never have to tell people, sorry, we're not moving you forward, because people either move forward or they bow out because they know they're not a fit. They realize it at whatever stage. And so I've had to, in over 10 years, I've had to send one rejection, sorry, we're not hiring you, out of all the people I've worked on hiring, because they just get it. And so we've crafted that process in such a way that we are finding people who are, culture fit, vision fit, purpose fit, how well you interact with our team. One of our rounds of interviews, you are interviewed by the whole team. And we don't hire unless every member of the team says yes. So if there's anyone that says no, either we talk about what that is and see what we need to find out to, like, what did you not see to make it? Or is it truly that it's a no? And if one person's a no, we'll pass on the person. Yet still have never had to call anyone or email anyone and say, sorry, not moving you forward.
Yeah.
Because they just get it.
Right.
Our favorite part is at the very end of the hiring process where we tell them, we're like, okay, well, we're going to be meeting to determine if we're going to hire you. What I need you to do is I need you to go home. I need you to talk to your spouse, your kid, your dog, your whatever. And you need to have a serious conversation about how this is the vehicle that's going to get you as a family to where you want to go. And I need you to pressure test every one of those possibilities. And I want you to email me and tell me either, hey, we're all in. And when you say all in, here's what we want that to mean. Or you're going to email us and say, hey, thank you for the opportunity. And when we get the people who say we're all in, it's pretty much they're being hired almost. Secrets out of the bag at that point, because we wouldn't give them that speech unless we were prepared to move them forward. But we want them to have that. And we also say, you cannot email me in 10 minutes and tell me that you talked to your family. You need to go home.
Good.
Don't send me something right away. So
Good.
there's a lot of trust built in that. And then once they start, like, we never have to think about it again. And never have to fire people, never have to, like, people leave because they've got opportunity better and greater. And, I just lost one of my longest tenured coach, and it was because he has an opportunity to be a partner at a company that's starting, and it's an amazing opportunity.
Great.
And I'm like, I can't argue with you. It's going to be better for you and your wife and, your life. And it's not fun for me because I have to go figure out what we're doing with all your clients.
Process.
Yep, it's not an easy process to hire and onboard people, but I actually got lucky on this last one because we said we were looking for a couple of unicorns to hire in a sea of horses, and we found two unicorns. We found two unicorns, and it has been an amazing couple of months transitioning them in and such. So
That's great.
Yeah, I think part of what I hear there is you help them see that this is a big commitment they're making, right? They see how you operate. They see that you're not desperate, that you're not just going to take a warm body. And so when they come in, they've done some soul searching that, a lot of companies don't take it to that level, right? So the shiny new job looks good.
Yep. And on paper,
they're willing to give it a go, but they're not committed.
On paper, like, we're a company that you come to the office, you work whatever hours you want. We all wear hats and T-shirts, and we bump music all day long, and we
Sounds fun.
Yeah, fridge full of food, and we bring in lunch for everybody, and so people are like, "This looks awesome." It's like, cool. If that's what's winning you over, you're not a fit.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Those are perks that come with things, but the person who's like, oh my gosh, just the way you started the interview process, I'm more excited because I can tell you guys X, Y, Z. And I'm like, that's a person I want to move forward.
Something we really try to help our students get to, we have this lesson that we teach this Chinese symbol for intent, and it's a target, and it's an arrow shooting toward it, and it's shooting from your beating heart. So the things that you're trying to achieve, you're achieving it through your words and actions, the arrow, but it's really coming from your heart. And I love that you're checking in with your people and seeing if that really resonates with them before you hire them. I think that's important to get to the true intent. Does it really align with their life and what they're trying to create?
And you can't fake that. That, to me, is the biggest thing. You cannot fake the energy you put out and that you show when you are answering some of those questions. We can see right through it. We can see through it. We can tell if the lights are actually on for someone, we can tell. And we're like, okay, the lights are on. They get what's happening. Now let's see. And it's real quick to be like, nope, that person's still stuck in the matrix. They haven't taken the red or the blue pill to step out and see the world as it is. And that, for us, we believe you can create anything you want. And so we want the person who sees opportunity in all things, and believes that we can create this company, this life, to be whatever we want it to be, and that they're on board and excited about that. And you can just see it in people's eyes. You can tell if they have been awakened to that or not.
And you said you choose to select people that are kind of born leaders. I suspect, though, that you maybe continue to develop people. I mean, we believe strongly that we can accelerate the development in the leadership arena. Some people are going to start at a much further ahead than others. But what kind of development things do you do to, help people get even to another level of leadership?
So, I mean, we within our three core values, we have deliver world class, we have be a force of nature, and our last one is all revolved around the idea of, like, you're never there. Like, you always have to improve your awesome. You always have to improve your whatever. So for us, if you think you've made it, if you think you're there, if you think you're the best leader, you're the best whatever, then you're sorely mistaken. Once again, you're not a fit for us, if that's the idea.
Yeah.
So for us, developing them comes in all sorts of ways, from hey, every morning we do a huddle where we're talking through what clients they're talking to that day. What are they doing? What are those clients? What are the pain points? What are the things? And I listen for just the verbal cues where someone's like, yeah, but Steve, da 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 da. And it's like, okay, hold on.
Like a complaint.
You can almost hear that there's something underlined there, and it's like, hold on. If that's how you sound to me, then there's something else there, and that's going to change how you show up to that client. And so it's like, cool, we're going to pause and we're going to unpack that thing. We tell everyone that all of us have to be unoffendable, where no matter what, I should be able to call you out on anything, and you should feel comfortable calling me out on anything. If you're like, Jake, that's a stupid idea, I expect you to tell me that. I don't want, once again, that hurts companies when you don't share things. And so I just yesterday had one of the newer coaches, and we just changed up one of our service offerings, and he's like, oh yeah, well, I talked to a person who, sounds like they'd be a better fit for the lower program. And I told them, like, the big thing is we're not doing it this way. I was like, whoa, hold on. You gotta be careful of the verbiage you use there. What I heard you just say, like, I realize what you're trying to convey, but this is what I heard you say based off just what you're saying and how you said it. And he's like, oh, so we're not, like, let's find the way that we're going to say this where it's like,
language is such a powerful
creates opportunity.
tool.
Yeah. How do we co-create within this thing we're doing?
Yeah.
But at the same time, our admin has a special needs son. And when she first started, she would often ask, she'd be like, oh, hey, I have to leave early because I got to go get Jack. And I go, hey, is it okay if I leave early? Is it okay? And, favorite story was, when the founding partner was like, if you ask me again, I'm going to tell you no. Just do it. Like, you're a grown woman with adult children and grandchildren. Like, just
take care of it.
Take care of it.
Yeah.
You don't need to ask. Just go. And so, once again, that little things like that, it changes confidence for somebody. And so we're constantly looking for the littlest things that we can do to change or upgrade individuals on our team, because once again, that immediately shows up in the success of the company and how they show up to clients and how they show up to their families and such.
There's an important distinction there that another guest on our show, Bob Dunham, talks about, which is the difference between, what gets listened versus what gets said. What's important is what gets listened. Mm-hmm. And I'm hearing you make that distinction. It's a subtle distinction and an important one.
Yeah, in every different leadership thing I do or I've ever done, whether it's through church, through helping people through grief, through book I'm writing, it's like so much of it comes down to those little things of hearing, like, what's heard versus what's said. Yeah. And how that makes such a drastic impact for people. And most people don't think about it, don't realize it. The founding partner at our company, I swear he's probably the most intentional person when it comes to words. Every word he says, it's like you can tell there's a reason he chose that word versus another word. Mm-hmm. And he's thinking through that because he's trying to change everyone to be more intentional with how they show up in the world.
I was just going to say, it means he's got a very strong intent, right?
Oh, yeah.
Always coming from that intent and making sure that the words match, just like the intent symbol you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we believe that your intent kind of resides, it does reside in your body. It's something you have to feel as well as reason, the whole mind-body connection. Because if you just try to think your way through what you think is important, you might miss some really good information that your body's telling you. Mm-hmm. So physical practices are really important as well. Do you have anything you want to talk about the body specifically in this leadership journey?
There's probably two things that come to mind. One will be a SixthDivision, and then we can maybe transition a little bit, talk about some of it, some of the other stuff as well.
That you've done.
But SixthDivision, we try to, like, it's one of those little things. It's like we try to have everyone have a desk that they can stand or sit at
Oh, great.
because of the focus of the body and how that, how that has an impact. We do Massage Friday every other week.
You do?
It was this morning, so I feel pretty
my
good about
goodness.
life.
You seem relaxed.
Yeah.
I can see why people would
You
be
hear about the
attracted to the
perks and they
shiny
get excited.
perks.
They're like, "Wait, you guys do Massage Friday?
Massage Friday?
You
Are
guys do
kidding
trips to
me?
Hawaii? You guys do yeah, that's what we do." But for us, even I said our fridge is stocked full of food, and yes, there's all the type of caffeine you can imagine, but also every bit of snack and food and drink, like there's healthy stuff everywhere. And so once again, how you take care of your body has so much impact in the decisions you make, in the when you are consciously thinking through that sort of stuff. In the grief world and the loss world, there are people who walk through life being like, I'm totally good, I'm fine. They're telling themselves these I guess lies, for a better term. It's not what we would call it when we're working with someone, but they're saying, I'm good. And it's like, are you? Because I can see the pain. I can see the hurt. You can literally see it. One of my favorite transformation stories has been a guy that I met through church. He had been out of the church for years and had been, living a pretty hard life. And I remember the first time I was meeting up with him, I was like, look at this guy. This is rough. This is going to be a hard thing. Well, he made some commitments for himself. He gave up smoking. He gave up drinking. He gave up going out late at night and doing all these things. He actually changed professions because he was an electrician, and he's always been up on ladders and is doing a number on his knees, and that caused him stress and pain and
Yeah, which can lead to more substance abuse.
tons of
too.
things. And
Yeah.
within months, he went from a person that you see and it was like, man, this guy's rough, to someone that you just want to love and hug and you want to be in your world. Like you can see from the I mean, like I said, it's physical. It's you see the turned in shoulders and the posture, and you see the furrowed brows, and you see and now you see the light is the only way to describe it. And it's because he shed a lot of the things that were negative daily in his life, but he also shed a lot of the pain and frustration and things he had carried for years.
The grief.
The grief and such. And so he shows up differently, and like to the point where I'm like, dude, you're an example to me. I want to be more like you. And it was back in June that I met him that I was like, this is a rough guy. And I love interacting with him every time I get an opportunity to. And he's always willing to serve and help and, so caring. And I'm like, just changed with those small physical things and changing some of the emotion and letting go of the pain and the grief and such. And, totally different person.
We have, in our curriculum, we have a 3-course curriculum, and the second course is about kind of examining where you've come from and
The stories we live by.
stories we
is
live by,
the
and
title.
the things from your past that may be holding you back. Because in the first course, they've explored, what do they really care about? In
Their intent.
Yeah. So I'm curious, as a grief counselor, does that play a role in
100%.
how you? Yeah.
100%. So there's 2 tools we use, and it's interesting. They align a lot with similar tools you'd find in a substance recovery program. So we actually refer to it is grief recovery. It is like a substance, like an abuse, like that you have on yourself. And so the 2 things we use, there's a what we call a loss history graph, where they actually chart a timeline from their dawn of conscious memory till present day. Every loss and or grief. And grief, the true definition behind it is anytime there is a change in your everyday pattern that causes an emotional reaction. That's grief. Grief isn't just when someone passes away. The two biggest are people passing away and divorce, but people retiring is grief.
Yeah.
People going away to someone starting college for the first time. Someone like my oldest son just got braces, and I had a conversation beforehand to like prep him because I'm like, that's a change in your daily routine.
Oh, definitely.
Huge, yeah.
Grief that comes from that. And so we have them charted out, and they rate the longer, they do the timeline, then they basically draw lines on it. The longer the line, the more intense the pain. We then have them do what's called a relationship graph, where they pick a relationship, and they're doing all the positive and negative impacts that have come throughout life with that individual. And as they do, once again, the further away from the timeline it is, the more intense of positive or negative it is. And having them reflect back on it, the first time I ever did it, it was like eye-opening. I was like, oh, I can see 100% in my life, like why I was like this here and why I was like that there and why I was like every bit. Amanda's known me for 20 some odd years at this point.
Yeah, we were 16 when I met you.
Yep.
Scooping
So
custard.
23 years, and I would imagine I could be wrong. She's probably gonna be like, nope, that's not right. Who I am now as a person and how I show up compared to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago is not just because of maturity and age, but because you look at the timeline and you look at the things that have impacted you, and when you look at them, you can see how your life has pivoted and changed when you can see it on that timeline.
Yeah.
I can be like, that's when I turned off emotion, and that's when I can see it clearly, clear as day, and it makes me even be more conscious daily in the interactions I'm doing to be like, how would this show up in 5 years? How is this going to show up for me on a graph or on a chart that I may look at, and am I creating positive impact versus loss or grief for people?
And I'm curious, what was it in your journey that brought you to grief counseling? How did that show up for you?
So it's actually, I have a client that I worked with for years. They are the ones that do certifying Grief Recovery Institute, Grief Recovery Method, and I've worked with them for years. And after I was changed, I took on a different leadership position at church, and in the first week, I had someone who was threatened to commit suicide. I had 2 people that I had to do these heavy financial reviews. We had a person pass away, like within the first week. And so I was on a call with them, and I was like, yeah, I've had it's been a rough day, guys. Like, here's what and they were just like, you know what? You should go through our cert. Like, it will help us as a business because you'll be able to speak more to what we do and what people go through. They're like, but with everything you're doing there, it's going to give you the tools. So it started as that. And then after I just started talking to people, I'm like, I got to put together my first pilot group of people. And they were like, I'll do it. And they're like, I was like, oh, well, I have to have like 3 or 4 people to start, or, we can do up to 10. And they were like, well, I can think of 2 people right now that I know will do it.
So your group filled real quick.
Whoa, all right. And then like the next day, someone through church, and I'm like, I'm starting this group. Do you want it? Yeah, I'm in. And it, never something I intended to do. I still say I don't know how far I'll ever take it. But it's amazing to see the transformation that happened for people, and that you can have a group. I've been in a group of 10 people before. Right now I've got a group of 4. And no matter what, by the time it's done, every single person has had a massive change and a massive transformation. And they go through all different avenues of emotions and, the roller coaster that they go through as they're unpacking that grief. But by the end, every single one of them was like, yep, that took care of that piece. And we've now given them the tools that they can go use to work on other loss and grief that they have in their life.
Yeah, I'm sure it's sort of a lifelong journey.
It's never done.
Like recovery in other organizations, right? You're always kind of recovering.
And I technically have never charged anyone for it. So most grief specialists charge people. And I haven't found the motivation to charge yet. And part of that is I'm working on this book, The Giver Method, and the whole idea is helping people develop their gifts and superpowers, and how they take those and deliver it as value to individuals without asking for anything in return. And when you do so, the universe will always pay you back.
Yep.
And I live by that, where it's like, cool, how can I provide more value with these people through grief? How can I provide more value for these businesses? How can I provide more value to my family or whoever it is? And the end result, I often say, is what we call relationship results. There's some sort of relationship result that comes from it. And then the other ways that the universe just randomly pays you back, that you're like, thanks, universe. That's a win for me. So
Yeah.
really awesome to see how people go through that.
Nice.
That's great.
We're actually, time is going really fast. So we need to probably start moving towards some
Yeah.
summary questions. You want to?
Well, let's see.
I'll keep answers tight now.
I really
Okay.
wanted to talk about your book, which you've brought up now. What else do you want to say about your book? I mean, it seems fantastic. When is it coming out?
That's I actually have a goal to have. I have an accountability partner right now that volunteered to be my accountability partner, and we have a conference we're both doing in the end of May. And she said that she'd have the first round manuscript of her book done, and I said, "Cool, I will too."
May.
So I've already written out deep introduction. I've got all the outlines. I've got all the putting together all the tools that are going to go with it, because clearly for me there are tools, there are worksheets, there are things that come with that, and but I have all of that, and it's been fun. I made the commitment to interview 100 people while I write the book, and I take them through questions, and so it's been great. It should be coming out, I don't know when. I know first draft will be done by the end of May.
Great.
And I just see that so many people don't realize that they have. I ask people, what's your gift? What's your superpower? And they, I don't, And then I could go to someone in their family or someone that they work with, and I go, hey, what's Amanda's superpower? And people are going to give out 3, 4, 5 things. And they're always, I guess, I do have those. It's like, no, you've got them. It's there. You just don't realize it. And how you take the gift and convert it to be a superpower, and identify the people you have influence on and value, and how you engage with people. Like it just steamrolls on how you take that bit that you develop and just use it. And once again, it has a massive impact on everyone that they come in contact with.
I can't wait to read it.
Yeah,
I can't wait to read it either. So
there's another motivation done by May.
Yep.
Great.
Awesome. We talked a lot about, what makes your approach unique, and just how your journey's really been this multifaceted adventure. I think it's really awesome. Anything else that you want to make sure we touch on?
I think you should ask your marathon question. Amanda.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
So I know you've ran a lot of marathons.
I have.
How many marathons have you ran?
I have completed 6 marathons.
That's awesome.
6 marathons, Disney World marathons. You learn a lot about yourself as a person training for marathons.
I've completed 2 marathons, so 2 to your 6 is not quite as many. But
The best therapy is running. To me, my best therapy is running. I may not look like I am a runner, but I love it. When I get out and just put on, I have the most ridiculous playlists that I put on. It'll go from oldies to Christmas music to country to modern stuff and everything in between. But that when you get to the runner high, when you get into the rhythm of it, you forget about everything else. When I did comedy for years, which we didn't even touch on.
yeah,
So when I did comedy for years, my favorite part about doing comedy was that being on stage, you get a chance to have people forget their problems for 90 minutes. They're not thinking about the problems. They're not thinking about, that was my favorite part. Someone could be having a terrible day, a terrible week, a terrible month or year. For 90 minutes, they don't think about it. And for me, I find that same, like, I don't have to stress about anything. Once you get, it's at about 3 miles that it kicks in for me. Sometimes earlier, sometimes later. But once you do, it's just you zone out, and I find myself a happier person when I have the time to sort through thoughts and get into that zone out by myself, trying not to get hit by a car. And so 6 marathons completed, 6 in a row at the Disney World Marathon, and
Wow.
lot of fun.
Wow. Yeah, I completely relate and resonate with everything you're saying about that. And it really is so therapeutic. And I find that often those problems that felt so heavy before I started my run, if I run far enough and do good enough,
forget about
I
it.
just get home and I solve them. You know, like
Well, and
that quiet, that space that the running creates for me, it allows me to find solutions that I was missing before when I was tense and I was distracted and felt heavy still in my body. That space and that freedom, you know, it just gets me to that solution point so much better.
you have to, every person has to have something. It doesn't have to be running, and it doesn't
No,
have to,
running's
and,
not for
and it doesn't have to
everybody.
be Tai Chi, and it doesn't have to be, but
Right.
you know, every person needs to have a hobby with their spouse and partner, and they need to have a hobby and an activity they do away from their spouse and partner. And you know, sometimes that's running, and I'm running away from my spouse, and or I'm running and then I run back.
Yep.
But that's also where, you know, doing cosplay armor, I can get lost in building things. When I do woodworking, when I do, like, so whatever someone's vice is, whatever their thing is, that they can just, that they get into their zone of conscious, like, that is where you're able to just
Yeah. Into the flow.
get in the flow and forget about things. And so however that shows up for you, sometimes for me, it's when I'm doing training for running, it can be doing cosplay. It can be doing, like I said,
You're so creative with your cosplay.
I've only-
the stuff you've made for your sons.
I've done a couple Ironmans, a Buzz Lightyear, a lot of Mandalorians.
I'm sure all of our listeners know what cosplay is, but I didn't. So just
So cosplay
Explain just
is
very
essentially,
briefly.
it's like cosplay is costume playing, like cosplaying.
okay.
And
All
so at comic conventions and things like that, it's you're going to create an outfit, armor, or whatever costume, where when you put it on, your goal is to embody that character. And my favorite experience ever cosplaying, one of my first ones I ever did for myself was I did a full Buzz Lightyear armor. And I was at the
that one was really cool. You listeners, you can see this on TikTok. There.
I was at the Phoenix Comic-Con walking around, and I was standing outside of this room, and I look across the hall and I see this little kid, and he's just like looking at me, like starry-eyed, and I was like, and like I look at him and we make eye contact, and he like slowly starts walking over, and he's like, can I take a picture with you? I was like, yes, you 100% can take a picture with me. And so someone who I have no idea who they are snapped a picture of me interacting with the kid, where I'm leaning down talking to him initially, and they shared it to one of the news outlets, and the news outlet had posted it, and someone else that I know found it and tagged me in it, and it's one of my favorite interactions I've ever had doing that. But
That's so great. You got tagged in it, so you can
that I could see it.
know.
Like I said, I saved that photo because I'm like, it's one of my favorite photos now. But yeah, cosplay, you're just building armor, for me, it's all foam armor or done with ABS plastics and things like that. And so once again, that idea of I'm out on my back porch and I've got heat guns and Dremels and, all sorts of things, and I can just put on some
put it
headphones.
all together.
What's funny is a lot of time when I work, I put in headphones and I put on noise canceling, and I'm not listening to anything. More often than not, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I'm doing it because what I'm doing is loud. It's so I can zone out all that and focus on what I'm doing and focus on what I have in my head. And so even when I do run, there are times that I literally just noise cancel and run in silence. Try not to get hit by cars. That's my big takeaway. But once again, however someone finds their flow, that zone of conscious that they get into, to me, that changes how you work through your problems, how you come home, you're able to work through it easier, or you're not stressed about it, or you're whatever that may be. And so whatever your vice is that gets you to that state that's healthy, do it. And then have one that you do with your spouse as well, because you draw closer and you both can build each other up. But I
think that's great advice.
I think having something like that you share and something you have on your own are critical in life. And it changes you, it changes how you show up, it changes that relationship. And yeah, I mean, it makes a huge impact. So cosplay, that's one of the ones I do.
Cool.
If your shared interest with your spouse's ice cream, does that count?
It should count. It should count.
That's a hobby.
Look,
maybe
we're the cool kids that every Friday night go out to eat. By the time I turn on my phone, I'll probably have texts of what date night is tonight, because we go out every Friday night, and it will always involve food. It will always involve probably ice cream of some kind, although I'm the only one who partakes in that. And we'll probably end up, we're the cool kids that go to Target and walk around on a Friday night. And so,
awesome.
But yeah, whatever that is, like I said, I think that we talked about it earlier with teams even.
That cohesion.
There's cohesion that comes from that I want to have with my employees and with business partners and with our clients. I want similar cohesion with my wife. I've got 3 boys. I want to have that same type of thing where each of us
shared
have a unique
with them too.
Have a unique connection with each other, and we can share in that. And I'm the 2 older who can actually think through that stuff. I feel like I do. The little one is 2, and right now we're just trying to get him to not destroy things. So at some point, he and I will figure out what our thing is together.
Nice.
Great.
So is there, what would you like to share with our listeners about how they can find out more about 6thDivision or any of your other causes?
So 6thDivision, 6thDivision is spelt out as all phonetically, SixthDivision.com, azgriefrecovery.com, thegivermethod.com.
Okay.
And if you search the handle on any sort of social media of Jake the Comic, it'll probably be me.
Okay.
That's how I show up from everything from years of doing comedy. And, so those are the places people can find me. And
a lot of good cosplay on there.
There's a lot of good cosplay. There's some silly TikToks, and there's some, but I also try to share, as I work on the book, things come to me and I start to write it out and get the idea. And so I share as much as I can, those insights and those thoughts that come to me of being a giver and the universe paying you back and how to engage with people and, be intentional in your weekend and things. And so, yeah, you'll see silly things, and you'll see my dogs, and you'll see my boys, and you'll see all that sort of stuff. And you will see some deep, insightful things that hopefully get you to reflect a little bit on life and choose to make some decisions that day, that week, whatever it may be, that have a positive impact on you.
Yeah. We encourage our listeners to check into that. We will put all of those things into the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
And, usually we talk more specifically about well-being in this season, but everything you talked about today, to me, you're coming from a place of
it's grounded.
Taking care of yourself, taking care of the organization, taking care of the clients. So, for our listeners, we didn't feel the need to ask those questions because everything was coming out as well-being.
It has to be it's grounded in that. And when you make the commitment to live by that sort of a lifestyle, you find happiness.
Yeah.
Like, secret to happiness, number 1, have an activity with your wife and an activity away from your wife. But it's coming from that mentality of the health, the well-being, the full body, how your mind impacts, breath work or whatever the thing may be, like whatever gets you through that, you ground those things in those. And as a business, we do that. We don't be like, oh, here's all the things we do. But because we're intentional about it and just how we show up, it makes an impact, and at home and such. And so, yeah, to me, it's just, it has to be a part of your being.
Well, thanks for showing up here, Jacob.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. We want to thank our listeners also. This has been Mind and Body at Work with East Valley Leader Lab. And there's a link on your screen. It's also in the show notes where you can learn more about how Leader Lab might be able to help you and your team work on their well-being. It's called 4 Fundamentals of Well-Being. As always, if I'm sure several of the things we talked about today resonated, we'd appreciate if you'd like, share, or subscribe to our YouTube channel or wherever it is you get your podcasts. And with that, we'll say thank you, Jacob. Goodbye, be well, and keep moving.